All right, we are live on Labor Day, no less, and the New York Mets are playing meaningful games in September for the opponents. That's right, boys. We're playing spoiler. We're going to be those fucking Florida, Miami Marlins who are just a pain in the ass, the monkey in the wrench, all the other stuff John McClane said in Die Hard 35 years ago, whatever it is. And we are just going to bother the shit out of teams. And I'm telling you, boys, it feels kind of good. We haven't had much to root about. We took care of Jared Kalenek's team, 2 out of 3. Won a series. Little round of applause. So that feels good. Phil, tell me about this series because I was kind of
well. The first game is on Apple TV, so Some people weren't allowed to watch that. But we won 2-1. Ronny Mauricio, 2 hits, including a double that was approximately 140 miles an hour per my measurements. Saturday we lost a 1-run game, and yesterday we won a 3-run game. So, and Ronny Mauricio, I think I had 5 hits and
5 for 11.
There
5 for 11, 1,000 OPS and 2 stolen bases.
Yep.
Pretty good.
I saw the StatCast numbers, and I think it was since 2019 or something. And it was Pete Alonso in terms of Mets StatCast. And then Ronny Mauricio sneaking in at 4, his first big league hit. That was a year worth of toiling in the minors, being fuck these assholes. I just got to get my shot in the show. And he took it out on that baseball, laser beam. And he's here, and we have something more to cheer for now other than ruining other people's playoff races. Kyle, how are we doing right now, baby?
I think the team looked nice this weekend, and it's so annoying and so frustrating to go up against a competitor, a first-place team, and you're yeah, we can play competent baseball when all the cylinders are all running. I mean, Lindor looked phenomenal in the field and had some great at-bats, but those plays in the field are that. This series alone should get him the Gold Glove. I don't know if it will. And Senga, I think, is really making a case for Rookie of the Year. So between that, you got Pete going for his 41st home run and 100th RBI. There's a lot to be excited about for the future if they can try to put it together for next year. Because, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid already. I'm all the bats had a down year. All you need is a couple guys to bounce back with this youth. I think we're going to be at least in the conversation next season.
It writes itself, the narrative, right? Our dumb baseball brains, we're going to be back in it come, I would say March. It won't even be March. It'll be November when free agencies, starting to get ready and we're trying to convince ourselves. There you go. Bats were down. We had the 2 old pitchers. It didn't work out. The bullpen was a product of the starters not going long, and everything's going to look good. I actually saw Clemmer, I think it was at the Barstool Awards, and I was like, hey, man, we're – things are looking all right for the future. He's like, what are you talking about? It's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. And he was just freaking out on me. And I was like, yeah, man, I know this year sucked, but I don't think we're in jail, baseball jail for the next 5 years, which we were with the Wilpons when we kind of bottomed out. I think things are going to get better. And Kyle just kind of alluded on a lot of the things. By the way, Pete, 40 home runs. What is it? 3 years in a row now?
3 years.
There's been 6 seasons in Mets history of 40 or more homers, and Pete has half of them.
He had his first season. He had the 60-game season, so he couldn't get there. And then the other one, he had 37. So 37. He's right around it every single time.
And 21 was the dead ball year too. So
that's right. And so you take his 19 and his 21, mash them together, divide it. It's 40 basically for each of them. That's the best way to do it. Man, it's those stats always just hit so hard because it's we have a guy who's awesome, and we also have had a history that is so goddamn pitiful with offense. I remember David Wright every time he'd be setting records. Carlos Beltran, even Lucas Duda was doing stuff that's only been done by 5 guys in history, and when Lucas Duda is making his way in the record books, it's weird.
For a while, Lucas Duda was the home run leader at Citi Field or something.
Lucas Duda and then 3 Braves. It was always just bad fucking
and Mark Reynolds mixed in there from one series he played in 2009.
God. Mark Reynolds. I don't think Mark Reynolds had a home run that didn't clear the bridge or the apple. I think every home run he hit was 700 feet. Oh, fucking Mark Reynolds. That was a name. That's a immaculate grid name I have to throw back in my head for the future. So
immediately, first thing I did too was I looked up Matt Olson, and it's there's definitely a case to be made that he probably going to command a little bit more than Olsen got. So we need to wrap our heads around that right away. I think he's a $200 million player.
200 million's fine at me. It's just
you got to find the happy medium between
Yeah.
Olsen and Judge because he's not getting that.
yeah.
It's just so unfair that the Braves got that guy, got Murphy, locked him up on their deals, and now they've gotten better every single minute since then. And I guess it's also a product of having a baseball factory there and having it done. But again, money, who cares? It's just like I'm just almost jealous that they have that dude. 44 home runs for Olsen now.
Yeah.
I saw he hadn't hit one
yesterday.
He hadn't hit one since like mid-August or something like that, and he's back on track. The Braves 90 wins already, on pace for I believe 108, which 108 is the 86 Mets, and it felt like obviously I was too young to really remember the 86 Mets. It felt like the Braves were above and beyond the 86 Mets the way they were going at some point. I don't know if they've hit a little bit of a skid, but even them just not being like on pace for 115 wins seems like a glitch in the system. Phil. Actually, by the way, for the people not watching on YouTube, both the boys have on the corduroy Mets hat. They were both at the game on Saturday. Beautiful giveaway. No logo on it. No corporate logo. Uncle Stevie says, take your fucking city money, shove it up your ass. We're going to give people something they can wear without looking like, cheap whores. And they're looking sharp here. They're looking really sharp. So I'm
high quality, I must say. It's not flimsy at all. They have like the little protector on the inside to keep the crown. It's nice.
The little cardboard thing?
Yep.
Oh,
little
nice.
flop right there. Look at that.
As a little, man, that's just. I mean, if they sold that for $35 in the store, I wouldn't even bat an eyelash. And I'm not even a hat guy. I would probably buy it because I just think they look that nice, little retro '80s look. I know Darren from the 7 Line, he has his hat too that they sold. That's pretty similar. Just some awesome shit there. So, based on this weekend. I've said this, I think, back like 5 years ago when we first started the podcast. I wasn't allowing myself to believe in the Jeff McNeil September hype and whatever. And obviously he proved me wrong, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to I've done this every year. I never believe in it. I should probably not believe in anybody because it worked out pretty good in terms of Jeff developing into a real major leaguer. I'm buying in on Ronny Mauricio. Are we all just saying this kid's going to be at least a fixture in the lineup for the foreseeable future off of one series right now?
I mean, I hope so, but it's like at the same time, how many debuts have we seen that have been this electric?
Yes.
Like Batty homered in his first at bat last year, was like, oh, we got this guy, and not so much.
His swing looks so much faster though than both of those guys. Like he's not going to have any trouble hitting the fastball. It's more of just is he going to swing out of his shoes every single time? I mean, and speaking of swinging out of your shoes, not to get us off track, DJ Stewart. Literally, he's just screwing himself into the ground trying to hit the ball out of the park, but he's crushing it.
He's doing it like 50% of the time.
It's insane.
I'm at the point where I'm starting to talk myself into DJ Stewart now, too. And it's just like...
the home run he hit the center, I was like, just get over his head. And it just kept rising and rising. I'm like, holy shit.
Again, there were Billy Epler has had some misses. And it's funny because a lot of the misses he had don't really look as bad. I think Vogelback still being in the lineup just boggles my mind altogether. It just has not made a lick of sense other than him probably being a great dude in the clubhouse. But nothing about it makes sense. And listen, we love Vogie. He was great to us. And I'm not going to forget that magic we had when the donuts and he's hitting the home runs and everything from last year. That still boggles my mind. But DJ Stewart is just the latest, just that dude that comes up. And at some point, it's like, he just keeps fucking hitting. I don't get it one bit. But
Mauricio, what do you think? Because his swing it looks very nice. Like that was the one thing I said about Batty too. They both just have like a clean swing where you're like, okay, there's no hitch, there's no issues where like as long as they have it between their eyes, you know what I'm saying? Like as long as in their head they have the right approach, physically they should be able to get the job done.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. He's still pretty young, all things considered, too.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he has a hiccup, I'll just keep going back to that. Okay, so it's like you could go to the advanced numbers, you can go to the scout's eye with the swing, all that kind of stuff. I don't have either of those things in my brain. I just have the dumb idiot fan side of the brain. And it honestly is like a good debut as a Met is almost like a fucking curse. Because remember, we said it on this show this year. We said when Alvarez came up last year, embarrassed himself during the pennant race, and then comes back, we're like, holy shit, this guy rakes. We have to now root for our guys to fall on their face at first instead of having Lastings Millage getting hits, high-fiving the fans. And we've seen it 1,000 times. Rosario comes up, has us dreaming those dreams. So based on that idiotic side of my brain alone, I'm like, Mauricio, bust. That's just how it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's not a Mike Jacobs situation.
Oh, Mike Jacobs, Ike Davis. I mean, we could just go down and down the list and make me want to like.
He looks like an athlete, and I guess that means a lot.
I will say it's beneficial to us that it's happening in September because it could be one of those things where he's just hot for a month and we just ride off into the sunset. And then in the offseason, they go, well, he plays shortstop. We already have our career shortstop. Like, let's see if we can move him and some other sucker comes on.
That's actually a great point. That's something I wasn't thinking of is we now can move these guys without being like, well, that guy was probably going to be one of our, figureheads. We need to have him in the lineup at least somewhere, unless we're getting back a similar position. We have 7 guys that could do the same shit Ronny Mauricio does that we acquired this year.
Steve Cohen just bought a brand new farm system.
Oh man, it's glorious. It's fucking it's again, like I understand the people, like again, Clemmer, I understand being so bummed about this season. It really was like a historic letdown in terms, and this is coming from a franchise and a fan base that is used to it. But man, like how could you just not, like it's just so easy to get those little butterflies in your stomach thinking about it based on, again, if Mauricio comes up and is hitting, if we could get, Vientos, I think I'm out of. All right, let's do a little Correa. Vientos, are you 1 to 10? How much hope do you have for him contributing? I'm saying even like bat off the bench kind of guy for his future. I'm honestly like a 2 at this rate with him.
Like a 3, but if I see somewhere he's working with some swing coach in the offseason, isn't Jeremy Barnes, I may go up to like a 7. That's where I'm at with Batty. Like.
He has the potential for the power because when he does hit the ball, you're like, holy shit, like that's man strength. But dude's hitting like 198, and every time we send him back down, he's like the Kirk Neuenhuis in my head, where it's like he's a quadruple A player. He's going to go down and mash, and you're going to go, okay, let's bring him back up, and then he comes back up, and you're like, this doesn't seem like the same player.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And we've seen enough quadruple A guys in our lifetime now where it does feel like that, especially a guy who doesn't really do much defensively. And again, I know we don't know the inner workings of the front office. I gotta believe that the Mets were very willing to trade Mark Vientos last trade deadline, and they couldn't get shit for him. It's not like the Mets were like, it's not like Billy Upple was like, oh shit, we could win 100 games this year, make the playoffs. Oh, in that case, I'm gonna go for it. I think he wanted to go for it, and people were like, yeah, we've all done it in fantasy, where you try to dump the running back who had the one good game or look good in a highlight reel, and you're like, all right, hey man, I'm gonna put him in the trade, and the guy's like, yeah, that guy fucking sucks. I don't care what the highlights say. And I think Vientos is the same thing. He's 24 years old, which isn't old, but it's not a baby at the same point.
I think he's 22, not 24. You may have given him 2 more years.
I think he's 23 right now, isn't he?
He was born in 99. So, but yeah, that's 20. He's 23.
He's 23, 24 in December. So yeah, so he'll be 24 next year. And it's like, but this is the thing though. When I was in the Fangraphs, I'm looking at the numbers and it's, 70 raw power, 60 game power. And those are the things which is why, again, fans, it's so hard to separate the real from the fake. It's like, I just see those numbers. I'm like, oh, so that's what he's going to turn into. He'll be just fine. So I'm a 2, Phil's a 3. What are you, Kyle? I'm Vientos.
I'm leaning closer towards 2 because it's also, you're looking at Alvarez, who's hitting 211, 210, whatever it is, and he's got 20-something home runs. And it's like, at least you can point to something else for that guy, not this guy who occasionally will hit a 400-foot home run. And you're like, okay, it's a drop in a bucket, though. Like, if you're going to be that guy that doesn't hit for average, you got to be Adam Dunn.
Yeah, the thing with Vientos is his exit velocities are like extremely high. It's all on the fucking ground. So I don't know, see a swing coach that teaches you how to elevate or something.
That's like
what gets it done, but
that's like Soup Campbell, where it was like we only knew like the basics of analytics at that point. They're like his exit velo is great, and then you look at every swing, he's crushing it directly into the ground. It's like, no shit.
He is the enemy of worms, basically, just a worm burning motherfucker, and that's the only kind of thing you have to worry about. Yeah, it's the anti Willie Mays Hayes, where it's like, no, hit the ball in the goddamn air, you asshole. Stop hitting it to the ground. Obviously, easier said than done.
I will say this though, it's like I think it's pretty even defensively at third base with the way that they're treating Batty at this point. Like, people hate him playing third base, and it's like, that's his position. What are we going to do? You think he has like a long way to go in the offseason, because when you're pinch hitting Arias for Batty because you can't put him at third base or you feel like you can't, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And he's in the same boat. He's the same. I think he's a month older than Vientos, but it just feels like there's more hope because he has a position, but that position, it's David Wrightsy, right? Kev always says that on the group text. He's like, I feel like David Wright's playing the hot corner right now, and your assholes just clenched the entire time, especially in the late innings when a ball gets hit there. Luckily, we have, again, 8 guys who could play any position, and there are like no one's playing shortstop, knock on wood, as long as Lindor stays healthy. That position's taken care of. We can move guys to basically wherever we want. But like with Batty, I don't know. Maybe it's just I felt like he was a more rounded player based on all the hype stuff. Maybe Joe DeMayo's tweets along the years. I'm like a 4 on him. It's not very good, but it's better than Vientos, I guess. Phil, where are you on Batty?
Probably like a 4-ish. It's the same thing. It's like if he sees a swing coach that teaches him how to elevate, I'll be back in on it. Like, he hits the ball hard, just always on the fucking ground.
Yeah.
And that's the way these prospects were taught coming up. And then they fired all those prospect development guys.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. This is all being said. These are guys who have had the people who just got fired raising them as baseball players. So if you throw in a guy that is, got this player in Milwaukee to learn how to elevate, it could completely change. But it's just based on what I'm seeing, which is all I have is the fucking game film, the Mets games. Kyle, you seem to be a little more in on Batty than we are.
I need him to be the guy.
Yeah,
like, that's
fair.
Any prospects that we have for next season are going to hinge on that guy being like at least a 6 hitter. You know what I mean? Like, he needs somebody to lengthen the lineup, and he's got to be that guy. Because I think if you can put together potentially Marte, he should just have surgery at this point already. Like, he's rushing back for nothing. Yeah. He's not even trying to rush back. So you have Marte, McNeil, Alonso, Lindor, Alvarez. Where do you go from there? And it's like, you need Batty to probably be that guy.
Yeah. Or, like Acuna could probably be ready next year.
You think?
He's in AA right now, crushing. So, yeah, that's a possibility. The best prospects are in AA. AAA isn't so much as, like, a long level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will say this, too. It's such a long season that, like, as long as you have a couple of veteran guys in Lindor and Alonso and McNeil, the youth can bring you pretty far if they outkick their coverage in their first season. So if those guys can come up and be like actual productive major leaguers, the energy alone will have the team like game in and game out.
Yeah, if Jeff McNeil was an 800 OPS guy in the first half like he was in the second half, maybe we're a bit different here.
I will say this. He's going to be like a Tony Romo type fantasy player by the end of the season. He's already hitting 270. Like, you're going to turn around and you're going to go, wow, he finished the season 285, 290. Like, holy shit, he had a pretty good year after all.
It's so stupid. And with baseball especially, because it's like you believe, you stay in it. And if he had done that in the first half, we have a completely different, feeling in our soul, especially how many people just stop watching in, August or something like that. But then you see the baseball.
Oh, wait, you think Kevin knows who DJ Stewart even is? We'll be talking about the end of year wrap up with Kevin. He's like, DJ Stewart has been great the last 2 months. Like, who?
Yeah.
Where does he stand in our OPS? If I go to the stats, is he like number 1 in OPS on the team right now?
Yeah, probably among non-qualifiers. Yeah. Definitely.
I don't even know if he's okay. So let's see here.
He's only had 100 plate appearances.
So our number one guy. The top 2 guys are not qualified. Number 1 guy in OPS right now, Michael Perez, 4 for 7 in 2 games played. Ronny Mauricio, number 2, boys. There's something to build on there. 5 for 11, OPS of 1,000. Michael Perez was 1,286, and then DJ Stewart, number 3, 971 OPS, 10 home runs, 265 average, 21 ribbies, and then Pete is obviously 853 of the real guys, and then number 5, rounding it out, the fam. God bless that man. However he's doing in Arizona right now. I saw he had an argument with, I think it was Cardinals fans Or is it
Padres?
Oh, that makes perfect sense. The fucking Padres fans. So shout out the fam. We love you all the way from back here. He still appears on our fucking leaders list because our season has been an outright disaster. So Kyle, like I don't. If you don't want to put a number on Batty, I'm not going to make you, because I know what it's like when, like, my hopes with Daniel Jones for years is it's like I believe in him. Next question. Don't ask me. I need it to work, because if it doesn't work, we are so completely fucked. If you feel that way about Batty, I'll give you a pass.
He hasn't done anything to show me. That's the problem. That the number's low, and like the numbers you're giving him are low, and like it's justified. It's just he's supposed to be the guy, and he's not. So it's like that's the troubling part. Where, like, think about when Conforto came up. Conforto came up in 2015. He gave us the boost that we needed to get into the playoffs and do all the shit we did. And it's like, we need him to be that for next year's team if we're going to have any chance of being, like, successful to compete with the Braves of the world and, like, going deep into the postseason and, like, doing anything and making noise. You need somebody like that. And, like, who knows? Maybe it becomes Mauricio instead of him, but you need one of those guys to hit.
I feel like the old Mets would have had a guy like this where the prospect comes up, he disappoints you, and then like a salty dog, like a Ty Wigginton, who's been with the team for years, he comes up and you're like, I think we got to play Wigginton over the hot prospect. And again, now that we have like 7 hot prospects, it will be a lot less weird if someone else takes Batty's job.
Yep.
But it just sucks that you have this, you believe in him. It just seems like Garrett Wilson's about to hit another level with Aaron Rodgers. It seems like him and Batty should be rising together right now. And trust me, Mets, Jets, there's a chance both these guys crash and burn.
I was going to say, now I'm sort of thinking like, oh, Garrett Wilson should be low on fantasy draft boards. I see him going in the first round.
If Garrett Wilson can't put it together with Aaron Rodgers after doing what he did with Mike White and Zach Wilson last year, that franchise is just as fucked as we are, if not more.
I will tell you right now, he is going to put up career numbers he'll never see again once Rodgers is gone. It's like the Greg Jennings effect when he tried to go to the Vikings after Rodgers. It's like, yeah, no, you're not getting fed the ball like that on a regular basis.
Kyle's a Packers fan too, guys. So this is a man who knows Aaron Rodgers.
The Jets are going to be my AFC team. This exact same thing happened when Favre went there. And I was like, okay, now I got to root for him because of the AFC connection. I'm like, I don't have to see him that often. He's going to be dangerous. I think that offense is going to be potent this year.
I've seen that little back shoulder that he's thrown a million times. It was, Jennings, then Jordy, then Devontae, and with a guy like Garrett Wilson, who I don't even know. He might be physically more talented than all those guys, and he's a freak of nature too. And those guys are awesome. So that's our NFL talk. Our Thursday show might be an NFL show because I don't know. Like Phil said, we have 2 games against the Nationals. There's a chance the Mets have 5 Metsy stories that go live in the time, but we may have to do a little bit of previewing there.
As disappointing of a season Batty has had, you can go over to Minnesota where Carlos Correa is breaking records for the Minnesota Twins. 29 double plays it into this season. So it's a new franchise record.
With a month left in the season. And, I don't think his ankle hasn't exploded yet, has it?
He's been saying he's having ankle problems. So, maybe the doctors were right. It's the worst ankle he's ever seen. And an ankle keeps telling him to hit the ball into the ground with a guy on first base.
He's another guy who needs to get this hitting coach that teaches him to hit it in the air. Because at least I'd rather have 1 out than 2 outs. He's actually complaining about ankle issues already.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh man, and
that would have been an absolute disaster because that's one player we would not have been able to move. Would not have been able. No amount of money that we were going to pay another team to take that on would have.
You don't know if they would have been. They even would have traded Scherzer and Verlander. Like have gone like the full like. The full rebuild was easy just because it was the guys that weren't signed long term.
Yeah. So definitely a bullet dodge there. And just like with Kumar Rocker, obviously the best case scenario is you go after a guy, you sign him, he comes in, he's awesome. That's what you want. But if you're going to have, if my owner shows me he's going to take a chance on a guy that other people are scared of because of money or resources or just investing in someone, they look at it, they see the red flag, and they say, nope, that flag is too red for us to invest the money. As someone that has lived with, the Jason Bay contracts and just the shit that just sits there and eats at you. Cano would have been this if the Wilpons still owned the team. it's the most hopeless feeling in the world. The people in Minnesota, I mean, God bless those Twins fans, man. It's gonna they're gonna miss out on people because that guy's just gonna be sitting there.
So it's not all that bad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cry for them too much for sure. But that's like a long-term bummer there. So I mean, definitely a bullet dodged, and and then we'd be blocking Batty. We'd probably be like, we got to get Batty at third now. We got to give him. And then if Batty came and did what he did with Correa's corpse on the roster, it would feel absolutely just rotten right now. Oh man, we've been there way too much as Mets fans. I saw Kyle was like flashing back to the dark days of the 2000s as I was saying that shit. But one day, hopefully not soon, Carlos Correa will have to retire. But for all those that, everyone thinks about the day they'll eventually get to retire and enjoy all the freedom that comes with it. Carlos Correa, I hope he's just riding a golf cart somewhere. Doesn't have to go on that bad ankle, just gets the base. Or he probably has enough money, he can have people carry him from place to place. He doesn't even have to walk. But who says we have to wait decades before we can get back to kick back and chill out, take advantage of that free will, and spend the summer chilling like a retiree and pair those moments with the Coors Light, the beer that's made the chill. It's Labor Day right now as we tape this. As soon as we're done, going to go cut the grass, have myself a nice Coors Light because it's about 85 and humid right now. Those mountains will be blue. Suck it down. Then we go to the pool. Whole bunch of new blue mountains. Suck it down. Chill out the entire time. Not getting too hot. I'm too old to be overheated. I'm at the point now where I actually do fear the hot weather. So it's the beer that's made the chill. It pairs well with a retired state of mind. And it's perfect for all of your summer plans or lack thereof. No judgment here. The Mets did not deliver, but Coors Light always does. So this summer, chill like you're retired with Coors Light. And you can get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/believe. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Speaking of retired state of minds, got a couple of old pitchers down in Texas who might be looking towards that state of mind pretty soon. Philip, give me the Max Scherzer update from our friends with the Texas Rangers.
The good news for him is he only gave up 1 run, 6 innings on Friday night. But the bad news is he had to leave early because he was feeling some forearm tightness and the bullpen blew the lead. And we've seen that before. September, Max Scherzer getting old, starting to feel a little tight. Big game on Wednesday versus the Houston Astros where he'll be lined up against Justin Verlander, who just gave up like 4 home runs to the Yankees on Friday night as the Astros got swept by the last place New York Yankees. But the Mets prospects they got from that deal are cooking. Luis Angel Acuna, I almost called him Ronald for a minute. He's batting like 400 in his last 15 games. Drew Gilbert, he's crushing. The big red dog, 3-run bomb last night. So, yeah.
Jet Williams, I think, had another home run. The Jet Williams update is either home run or 5 steals. Which one do you want?
Sometimes both.
Sometimes both. Yeah. Oh man, I didn't realize they were squaring off against each other.
That's what the Fangraphs probables have lined up. So
lovely.
That'll probably be the first non-Mets game I watch of the season in terms of baseball. I'm not like Phil. I'm not watching 7 games, not going for the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's basically Mets or nothing. So, it has to be on national TV or I'll have to find a way to get it. Is it on national TV? Do you know? Is it like a MLB network thing or something like that?
I doubt it's a Wednesday night. So
it's Wednesday night. Oh, that's perfect too. Right before football. You're gonna have
it's a little appetizer.
A little appetizer for it all. Kevin said it, and it is true. It's like, let's get what can really fix this team right now? The washed up Mets pitcher that was part of a goddamn catastrophe of a season for them. Let's go get that guy. And trust me, part of me is like, I could go out and see these guys be the aces we wanted them to be. You said it though, Phil. Max Scherzer says, it's just a little forearm thing. Shouldn't be. It's not a strain or anything. I've seen this story before.
It's gonna turn into something. And he's pitching great, but when the lights are shining bright.
Oh yeah.
Who would have thought? The guy that was such a dog and sitting in that dugout, that we would come to hate the fact that he's sitting in the dugout with his legs churning up and down. You're like, you're already tiring out yourself before you get to the mound, old man.
Yep. It's like, get this fucking guy off my screen. He's going back and forth like an angry shark. Because it's like,
maybe you should sit down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You do that. That's cool, man. But then when you go to the mound, you give up 2 home runs. It's like, what are we even doing right now? It's fucking so frustrating.
Well, who's not a bad pitcher? Kodai Senga, who may be top 3 in Cy Young, top 2 in Rookie of the Year.
So
I don't know who else
that
the
in terms
rookies
of Cy Young.
he's good.
Corbin Carroll probably has Rookie of the Year locked up. It's like Ellie De La Cruz hasn't been that hot since his call-up. Matt McClain, maybe. It's starting to look like Kodai Senga's top 2 at least.
So I didn't realize we have a chance for, like, at least, hey, be in the conversation is all you can ask for. And I know he's not your traditional rookie. He's 30 years old and all that kind of stuff. But, boys, I think we got to chalk this up as a big fat W, especially when we don't have a goddamn rotation behind the guy moving forward for the long term. Having a piece like that in place for years as well. Fuck. This is, and we were, this, again, I said it last episode, this was the guy we gave, like, a lot of runway to. Hey, take your time, get adjusted, whatever. And he's the one guy who actually grabbed the fucking league by the dick and was like, let's get ready to run. And Verlander kind of gets lumped in with Scherzer in my mind. He was great. He was awesome. He had the injury, which sucked. But I don't want to make it seem like, but everyone else here basically disappointed. So Kodai Senga.
I'm seeing Corbin Carroll is the favorite for NL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like clear favorite? Okay. So
they're close. He's Kodai second. So
I'm looking at Cy Young predictor here for ESPN, and it sucks, that site. So
that one's always broken.
Yeah, it's always broken, and the other doesn't have him listed. But Devin Williams 1, Justin Steele, Strider, who 3.5 ERA. I don't see that happen no matter how good. I could probably get 16 wins on the fucking Braves. Alexis Diaz. So nonetheless, the fact we're even having this conversation about Kodai Senga, just love him. I love him. He's going to go out. He's going to try to recruit my boy Yosh. He's going to try to recruit everyone else. We'll see how it goes. Everyone from the Far East, bring them to the National League East. That's what we need. We've kind of we dove in a little misery loves company with, I guess, the Rangers and the Astros, which they're not miserable by any means, but in terms of Scherzer, the Yankees, I feel like Yankees fans are getting like a little bit of a different version of what we're experiencing. We're experiencing the Jet Williams, the Acuñas, TJ Stewart, Mauricio. They got Jason Dominguez. He came up. He hit a fucking home run on the second pitch you ever saw in the big leagues off of future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander. So they're feeling pretty goddamn good about that right now. But that's the thing. That's all they have. If they had a few more lines in the water, they could have potentially got some more guys in and called them up in September, or at least looked at their minor league highlights. They don't really have as much of that. But, Kyle, you're convinced that it's going to be Dominguez versus Alvarez here for the fucking short king crown of New York, huh?
It seems like that's going to be the way that it's going. It's the same way that it's Alonso and Judge going at it for the king of New York. These guys are going to go for the Prince of New York. And Dominguez has 2 home runs now. I just looked up his numbers. So he's definitely going to be a guy that has pop. As far as that goes, he's a center fielder. So you got a center fielder versus a catcher. You hope that Alvarez's legs are fresh and we're going to get him in the DH in a couple spots. Maybe Parada comes up. But I think between those two guys, it seems like as far as like a surefire prospect goes, those are the 2 that have been the highest on both teams' list for a long time.
Yep, the people they're dreaming of. Phil, did you watch any Yankees this week? I mean, I know you're always in the periphery of everything.
Sunday night game. The Friday night game was on Amazon Prime, so I had alma mater. I mean, yeah, they're believing the baby bombers are back. So, and I made a note that Aaron Judge, he can hit versus the Astros when it's not October. So, write that down.
I saw Yankees News ahead of here. Dominguez, this was on September 3rd. He had the go-ahead 2-run home run, Volpe single and a run, Austin Wells, Ribby double run, Oswaldo Perez an RBI double, and Oswaldo Cabrera single and run. They're 3-0 in the since they've called up Dominguez and Austin Wells. So the Yankees are having their own little moment of happiness over there. The Yankees fans, I should say. What's the playoffs looking like for them? Is that
we're closer to the playoffs than them. They're 8.5 now. We're 7. So.
That's all right. So probably no joy in the Bronx this year, which, hey.
This is going to be one of the most boring playoffs, in a while. Like, you start thinking of teams that, aren't in. Like, obviously, both New York teams are out. Red Sox are out. In the Central, it's going to be Minnesota, but no one gives a fuck about them.
It's one of those years where, maybe you tune in for a couple games of series if there's, one big storyline or you get, an electric series. But otherwise, you're probably just checking scores until the World Series.
Even in terms of the Barstool office, we'll just have the Phillies, and that's basically it.
I hope they.
Yeah, the Braves. That's really one Braves fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Cubs. So what am I saying? Maybe Big Cat Chief, and then we'll get up for the Cubs.
Oh, the Cubbies. That's right. We got the Cubbies in the mix. Obviously, the Chicago
office will be buzzing. Yeah.
Yeah. And they have to get. That's the thing. So.
Yeah.
the Chicago office versus Big T would be a very interesting matchup. Or Chicago office versus Smitty and Rowan and everything. There's a lot of ways, especially because obviously the Eagles Bears had that incredible game, the double point game back in the day. So there is a chance for some decent streams coming up. The AL West, it's like the Mariners are just like, they were the hottest team in the universe. The Rangers and the Astros are fun enough that could keep the interest, but it does feel good. I'm sure the people out west are like, good, get those fucking East Coast teams that everyone always talks about out of the goddamn playoffs. But it's basically, for us, it's like against all costs and odds, just rooting against the Braves here. That's the only thing that matters in my life outside of the NFL will be just the Braves losing, which is like rooting against the sun not rising. So that's basically where I'm standing at with that. And then we touched on it earlier. I'm concerned about Starling Marte. Like the fact, it sounds bad. He's just like, I don't want to start back at 0 basically. He's might have to get surgery again on the groin. Is that what they're saying?
He's trying to avoid the surgery.
Yeah, but I don't. Selfishly, I'm like, why? All you're going to do is you're going to prolong this, and then at the end of the day, you're still going to need it, and then we just wasted another 2 months.
Yeah.
It sucks because how important he was last year. It's like, are we ever going to see that guy again?
Yeah, I don't feel good about that. And he's at the point now too where he has 2 more years on his deal, I believe, after the season. And it's like I don't think there's not a lot of spots that it's like, oh no, you're good. If he plays like he did this season next year, and we have these prospects ready to come up, he's going to be one of the guys on the block. I think so. Like left field is kind of open with obviously they traded Canna away, but McNeil can move there, and then he's second. But if Acuna comes up, he's going to then be taking one of those spots. So it's going to be very interesting. And then free agency. God knows if we sign anyone in free agency, that's going to take up a spot. So I don't think not a lot of jobs are safe. Nimmo's good, Pete's good, Lindor's good, Alvarez is good, and if Marte's healthy, he's good. But if he's not, I mean, you can't just he's as big a reason that we flop this year as almost anyone else in my mind.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And dating back to last year, it's like as soon as he got hurt at the end of the season, that's when everything fell apart. He's that important. So I don't know, if Buck has to talk to him, Uncle Stevie has to talk to him, his wife has to talk to him, which by the way are his fiance. Congrats. Starling Marte getting engaged. And his engagement picture is his fiance straddling him
in a Rolls Royce.
In a Rolls Royce with the "I said yes" written on her hand is the most incredible engagement picture. Kyle, did you have that pose when you got engaged?
I did not have that pose. I also didn't drop it mid-game. Like they posted that while the Mets were playing. Like, come on, dude. Read the room one time. You're like, look at all this money I'm stealing from your franchise. Look how big this ring is in this Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I made all this money on the IL, It's like, what the fuck? He's just hilarious. And I mean, Mama Clancy infamously loves him. Like he's an eligible bachelor and he's off the market now. So congrats to the future Mrs. Marte. But we need this guy coming back next year. If we don't, I am going to be very, very concerned with and again, it's a sunk cost. You live with it, but it's like Buck strikes as the kind of guy who's going to keep looking for, I think he might have it this week. It's like, no, Buck, you have to cut bait because at some point they had to do it this year. They didn't do it, and we can't have this year's problems bleeding in the next year. Next year's a clean slate, but it only is that way if you allow it to be.
He's a difference maker when he's right, and so you're always going to have that thought in your head of like, well, he'll figure it out. Like once he gets healthy, it's just an issue that we have to evaluate and all this stuff. But it's like such a big part of his game is his legs, and your groin is literally like the worst kind of spot you could have for power. So it's at a certain point, if you can't run and you can't hit, you can't play for this team. So we'll have to wait and see. I think he should just honestly cut ties, get the surgery, and hopefully rehab as quickly back as possible. But God, it's going to be a big deal. And especially when you're going into free agency, not knowing if you have that hole that you need to fill, because Jim Bowden said they are he talked to the Mets front office and they're fully in and committed to free agent starting pitchers, which you love to hear because that was one of our biggest issues.
Yep.
And if we can go out and get a couple guys and fill in some spots here, and now we have Kodai Senga's the ace of the rotation, and you go get somebody else to be a 1 and 2 with him, I think that's a good starting point. We obviously need relief pitching as well, but Diaz is coming back. we definitely need somebody else because Ottavino is going to be gone and Drew Smith and everybody else who's underperformed. So pitching is the biggest problem I think that this team's going to have next year.
Man, that Senga, the video that Pitching Ninja, I think, tweeted up the other day with the ghost fork, those were some of the dirtiest pitches I've seen all season. And he's throwing a good chunk of the dirtiest pitches I've seen no matter what team it is. So I feel great. I just feel great about him. I just want to give – there's certain players I just want to hug. Even like Alvarez in the first half was just so important to what it is. Senga, we've already talked about how great he's been. Lindor – by the way, shout out Mrs. Lindor for dunking on all the Lindorks by saying, see what happens when you support a player because Trey Turner got the standing O and became like the best player in fucking baseball for a little while there. It is crazy how booing your players has never, ever made him a better player, yet people still do it. I understand why. I just think it's a stupid thing. So I'm going to get excited for next year. It's mostly because Ronny Mauricio, I believe, is going to be a future Hall of Famer. I'm going to convince my dumb brain of that because at the end of the day, no matter what with the stupid team, Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.